I'll start, and then I'll move to Priscilla, and then Anna Carolina, and then I'll go down the right-hand side of my screen, which lists everybody. I think that's maybe the way to do it. So I'm I-ADaPT. I'm co-leading this working group with Priscilla. I was leading the IMBR Human Dimensions Working Group, where we developed the I-ADaPT framework together with some others on this call. My real job is as a government research scientist with Fisheries and Oceans Canada, but I like to do interdisciplinary research to the extent possible to further how we manage our oceans sustainably. So I'll stop there and ask Priscilla to introduce herself, please.
I'm a professor in Brazil. I study fisheries, specifically small-scale fisheries, and their social ecological resilience and their local ecological knowledge as a tool to provide scientific information, which is very much needed in this part of the world. And even though I'm co-leading with Alida, I don't know much about the techniques we're using here. So I'm actually learning along the way, just as all of you guys here. But I'm not part of any of the countries in Asia or Africa, so I'm just helping from Brazil.
Great, thank you. Anna Carolina.
Well, hi, we have been talking and discussing throughout this year, but I am Ana Carolina. I'm doing a postdoc with the V2V, helping the I-ADaPT and Situational Analysis working groups and trying to combine this integration between both as well. And I work with governance of coastal areas, fisheries, well-being, and very excited to be here.
Okay, thank you. So what I'm going to do now is just go down the list on my right-hand side. So some of it's alphabetical. Some people have got names that are not their real names. So you're going to have to be patient as we figure out who's who. But first on my list is, well, it's Prateep, but I'm going to leave you to the end, Prateep, okay? Okay, so our next person is Akintola Shehu from Nigeria. Akintola?
How are you all? I'm Shehu Akintola, a professor of fisheries, currently head of department at the Lagos State University. My area of interest is, well, for this project will be all matters of vulnerabilities that affect the small-scale fisheries of Nigeria. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next is Aliou Sall from Senegal. We can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself, please.
Yes, my name is Aliou Sall. I'm a fisheries socioanthropologist engaged in research since around 22 years or so in small-scale fisheries, both in Senegal and at regional level. I'm a member of V2V now, and I'm the co-coordinator of this project in Senegal. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily.
Hello, I'm Emily Felinska. I'm actually at Waterloo and I'm working with Prateep, and my research is on dolphin and whale bycatch in small-scale fisheries. And I'm really focusing on that. And yeah, and I'm very excited to be here as well and to work with everybody.
Thank you. Ishmael from Malawi, I think. Ishmael, I can't see your whole name. Yes, please.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Ishmael Kosam. I'm the V2V team, the core team leader for the Malawi team. But basically, my particular interest is in governance issues, so natural resources governance, and also working with multidisciplinary teams. And well, I look forward to working with everyone in this team. I'm currently working for the University of Malawi, that's where I'm teaching, lecturing, doing other stuff, consultancy research, etc. So thank you very much.
Perfect, thank you. Next is Frederic Ato Amma.
Yes, hello everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Frederic Atwama, and I'm a professor of environmental and sustainability science at the University of Cape Coast in Ghana. I'm one of the two country leads for Ghana. My interest is in participatory resources management, climate change, human health risk assessment, human environment interactions. And currently, I'm the director for the Directorate of Research, Innovation and Consultancy at the University of Cape Coast. This means that I direct all our international partnerships at the University of Cape Coast.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Frederick. Next, I have Hapsari. I'm not quite sure who that is, but that's the name on the participants list.
Okay, thank you. I ask for permission today. I will represent my professor, Professor Indah, in this discussion, and I excited to be here. So our research is to how to face the vulnerability in small-scale fisheries.
Okay, thank you. And sorry, your name is Hapsari, or that's the name of the case study?
Yes, my name is Hapsari.
Okay.
The case study is about vulnerable in small-scale fisheries.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oops. And oh gosh, this is challenging. I have next one is Indonesia_made Ika. I don't know who that is. Does anyone want to fess up to that name?
Made Ika, yes.
Yes, please. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm sorry I can't on my camera because I'm on my home is not sustainable with my Wi-Fi connection. If I on my camera, it's will be a pause or error. My name is Ika. I'm a prof in the sociology PhD student. I'm from Indonesia, especially from Bali.
Are you also working with Professor Indah?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Great. Okay, next on my list is, it says CADI UCAD.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Hi.
My name is Khadija Massa. I'm an economist working at the University of Dakar. I mean the University Cheikh Anta Diop. So I'm a member of the Senegalese team for this project. And today I represent Prof. Fatou Gueye because she is not available. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Hadi. Okay, now I have another person from Indonesia, I think. Himawan Arif. I'm probably terribly pronouncing that. My apologies. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
Good morning, everyone.
There we go.
Yeah, my name is Himawan Atma from Indonesia, and now I'm interested in small-scale fisheries research, and I am working with Prof. Indah at Faculty of Economic and Business, Diponegoro University. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and welcome. Natasha.
Hi, everyone. I'm Natasha, and I just started my PhD with Prateep, and I'm trying to combine genetics and social ecological systems knowledge.
Thank you, Natasha. Great. Priscilla Raktima Ghosh.
Hi everyone, I'm Raktima from West Bengal, India. I'm a part of V2V working group in IIT Kharagpur, West Bengal. And I will be joining IIT Kharagpur in this autumn semester. And I'm mainly interested in the small-scale fisheries within the ecologically challenged and socio-politically vulnerable deltaic stretch of Indian Sundarban. Thank you.
Okay, Great, thank you very much, Raktima. Samia Salim.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Samia Salim. I'm an associate professor at University of Liberal Arts, Bangladesh. I'm also a postdoc at the Leibniz Institute of Marine Research in Germany. I'm a marine social scientist interested in looking at marine resource use, natural resource governance, small-scale fisheries, and other stakeholders in coastal Bangladesh. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samia. Next is Suvalok from Thailand. Suvalok? Hello, Suvalok. We'll come back to Suvalok. Oh, are you there? Hi.
Do you hear me? Hi.
We do. We do.
Oh, good. Good. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Suvalak, and sorry, my camera is not working now, but I think that there is no trouble as far as you can hear me. I'm working with the TBTI Thailand. I'm work with the Mahidol University, and my background is more with the coastal management. I am interested in the governance and all kinds of socio-ecological resilience that wish to look after for the aspect of the human dimension, that how we make the coastal or natural system to be more resilient by looking at how human can do to survive in that kind of ecosystem or something like that. And I learned to work with the interactive governance over the 3 or 4 years and have some experiences with the small scale fisheries in the Gulf of Thailand and some kind of DFM project. But mainly that I interested in the small scale fisheries. So I think that this project is going to excited for me in terms of looking several kinds of aspects to make that going to be more sustainability, or this project is called Viabilities. So looking forward to explore more. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Suvalok. Next is Yinji Lee, please, from Japan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yinji Lee. I'm a Korean Chinese who is now based in Japan. I'm an associate professor at Tokai University, and my research is on small-scale fisheries in Japan, South Korea, China, Taiwan, Northeast Asian countries. And I'm also a member of Too Big to Ignore project, and currently I'm leading the TBTI Japan Research Network.
Great.
Yeah, that's all from me. Thanks.
Thank you, Inchi. Next is Aini Nur. No, I don't know how to pronounce this. Furoida. Are you there, please?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Thanks for I can participate on this meeting. I'm from Indonesia. My name is Aini Nur Furaida. I'm from the Ponorogo University, and I'm working Prof Indah Sociality, same with Hapsari, Mati Ika, and Hibawan.
Okay.
Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much, Aini. Let me see now. Next, I think is Ghazi, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ghazi Durul Islam. I'm working with the University Tun Abdul Razak, Malaysia, and my interest is working for the small-scale fisheries and sustainable fishery resources.
Perfect. Thank you. And then next is Moniba Isaacs from South Africa.
Hi, Alida, and
Hey.
hello, everybody. Nice to hear you all and your voices from around the world. One do feel a little bit isolated. Muniba Isaacs, I work at the University of the Western Cape. I'm doing research on small-scale fisheries, and I am often interested in issues around access, justice, and more how that impacts within the blue economy. So that is key on my agenda, and I hope to bring some of those issues, especially the blue justice issues, into this particular forum, as it increase the vulnerability, the injustices that increase vulnerability for many coastal communities. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Muniba. Next is Babisha Kenya.
Hello everyone, my name is Bhavishya. I'm doing Masters in Sustainability Management at the University of Waterloo under the supervision of Professor Naik and Professor Alida. So in my Master's thesis, I'll be doing some sort of classification of the case studies to develop the typology. So I think today's meeting will be very useful for me, and I hope to learn much more from you all today. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Erwin Prayogi, have I pronounced that properly?
Hello, good evening. My name is Erwin Prayogi. I'm from Kutai Kartanegara University. I'm also part of V2V team from Indonesia, and my research also in small-scale fisheries on young fisher and technology. Thank you.
Great, thank you and welcome. Ratana Chumpagdi from Thailand.
Hi everyone, this is Ratana Chinpakdi and I'm speaking from Thailand, across the hall from Suvalak. I'm based at Memorial University in Canada, and I'm coordinating the Topic-to-Know partnership. Good to see many of you here, and I also support Suvalak in the case study of Thailand. And also for the V2V project, I also I'm coordinating the transdisciplinary. So we'll be talking about that in the future.
Thank you. And Derek Armitage.
Hi everybody, it's great to see you all and hear you all. Yeah, I'm Derek Armitage. I'm a faculty member here at the University of Waterloo, and my interests are really around environmental change and governance in coastal systems and small-scale fisheries and how all that intersects with vulnerability and viability. And coordinating with Anna Carolina and working with many of you all on the situational analysis as well. So really looking forward to the conversation today. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Derek. And Simar, I'm not seeing your picture, but are you still with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah. Do you want to
Hi,
just...
everyone. Oh, sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Simar, and I am the project coordinator for V2V. Hi, welcome
Perfect.
all.
Thank you, Simar. And I think I've got everyone other than Prateep.
Hi, everyone.
So,
thank you, Alida. I'm based at the University of Waterloo in the Faculty of Environment here. I work with Derek, Simar, and Anna as part of the Secretariat of the Global V2V here in Waterloo. My main research interest in fisheries change and what drives those changes, and of course, looking at trends in vulnerability and viability in relation to those changes. Very happy to be here and to see all of you, and looking forward to a nice discussion today. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And thank you all and welcome to our first meeting. We've got a wide range of people from all our case studies here, our countries, a lot of expertise in our virtual room, which is wonderful. We have a 12th case study from Tanzania, and that's one of the co-leads for that is Paul Oyango. He unfortunately was not able to join us today. He was the one person who The state did just not work for him, unfortunately, so we will make sure that he's brought up to date after we have finished our meeting, so he's fully aware of how we're progressing in our working group. What I'd like to do now is just briefly share a few slides to set us up for our meeting. So hold on a second. And I have to find it because I've got like a billion slides open. No, that's not there. That's what I'm looking for. And just bear with me a few more minutes, sorry. Okay, so I go back here, and close that and start share again. And we want, that's weird. I won't let me do that. All right, hold on a sec. We'll get there in the end. No, all right. Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. So we've had our round of introductions. What I'm going to do next is just briefly review the I-ADapt working plan again. We've done this before in the webinar, but we just wanted to remind everyone about the work plan. The next, we'll talk a little bit about the situational analysis. We'll ask Derek to speak to that, Derek and Anna, just to make it clear what the linkages are between the situational analysis and what we're doing in the I-ADapt working group. And then the bulk of the meeting, we're going to spend discussing our case studies. Now, we did give everyone a heads up and asked you to come prepared to the meeting to talk about the case studies. Some of you have sent us some slides or Word docs describing the case studies, which is great. But we will ask everyone to speak to the extent that they can about the case studies, what their thoughts are on them and initial impressions of I-ADapt. What we want to do is to get a sense of what your thinking is and what you have, what kind of your plans are and what next steps are necessary to set things in motion. And then number 5 is discussion of next steps. So then to review the I-ADapt work plan, just to remind you then, this is the structure of the V2V project, and the I-ADapt case working group is one working group amongst 5. And on the bottom here are the 12 countries that are part of the V2V project. So 6 from the African continent and 6 from the Asian continent. This is the more important slide because it speaks to the theory that informs I-ADapt and the theory that informs the V2V project. So in this figure, you'll see that what we want to do with the V2V project is to move from vulnerability to viability. That's why we're all gathered here together. So moving from vulnerability to viability can be informed by different conceptual approaches. So what we've outlined here is political ecology, gender, empowerment, social ecological resilience, adaptive capacity, interactive and multi-level governance, and well-being and sustainable livelihoods. I-ADapt draws from all these concepts and brings those ideas and information from those concepts into one standardized template, which allows us to compare across countries and understand factors that can contribute to or not moving from vulnerability to viability. I wanted to start with that. Just to I-ADapt is a template, a methodology. It itself is not a theory. It draws on theories and brings them together. And we'll talk about that more as we move forward. So here's our plan for year 1. 1 and 2, we've already done. This is our working group. We're here today, which is great. We presented a webinar back in January, I think, to the whole V2V community to let everyone know what we were planning, what I-ADapt is, etc. And now we're starting to work together as a working group. What we're heading for under number 3 is some more specific training in I-ADapt. And that the idea of this is to serve, it will train our members, our students, etc., on the I-ADapt template, how it's used, the theory behind it, etc. Importantly, it's to get us familiar with how I-ADapt can inform the case studies and vice versa. So we want to identify where we don't have information in our case studies to inform I-ADapt. So what do we have already to hand so we can fill out the I-ADapt templates? Where do we not have information? And in some cases, there may already be a lot of information to complete much of the I-ADapt template. In other case studies, there may be very little. And that's fine. What we just need to do at the beginning is to get an assessment of where we are with each of these so that we can then identify next steps. We also want to identify if we've got any theoretical gaps in the I-ADapt template. So even again, if it's not possible to complete the whole template with the information currently existing for a case study, there may nonetheless be information about the case study that says that I don't think the I-ADapt template addresses this sufficiently. And so that would be a theoretical gap. And so it's a two-way thing. Where do we not have information in the case studies? And where may we need to improve the I-ADapt? If you're familiar with the V2V proposal, we talked about how as part of the V2V project, we would improve and adapt the I-ADapt template, depending on the needs of the case studies as we move forward in a more applied fashion. Number 4 here is building I-ADapt through additional case studies. So this is part of the work that Babisha is doing, for example, is looking at sort of the methodological aspects of developing the typology. And in addition to the 12 case studies or 12 countries with case studies that we have in V2V, we are hoping to gather additional case studies to really populate the typology well. And we note here there's a connection with Working Group 2 very much so, because V2Viz is a database that the information from the I-ADapt templates will be stored and accessed, etc. So that's a very important connection. So this is where we're trying to get to in year 1. In year 2, sorry, hold on. There we go. Year 2, we hope at some point in the first part of year 2 is to have a synthesis, what we're calling here a synthesis workshop, where after we've done this initial application of the I-ADapt template to the case studies that we have in the V2V project, we can start to synthesize findings across the case studies, maybe do an initial typology if we have enough information. Importantly, we want to know what we've learned from the case studies, what we've learned about the case studies, and what we've learned about I-ADapt. Discuss possible revisions to I-ADapt based on that, whether improvements that we may want to make. Now we've got 12 plus different applications around our case studies with new eyes, new ideas, new problems potentially. And we heard a couple of suggestions at our webinar in January. So there's already some ideas that we may want to incorporate. And then at the workshop 2, obviously we'll want to start to discuss next steps. And we already, I think, know for some of the case studies, there will have to be some in-field collection of data, etc. And that would be number 6 here. So rapid community-based scoping using I-ADapt, where we want to start thinking, then how are we going to gather this additional information that we're going to need to complete the I-ADapt templates. That's not what we want to talk about today. But this is just to give you a sense of where we're going where we're heading towards over this and next year. And 7 and 8 are the same, building I-ADapt through additional case studies and the connection to the Working Group 2 V2Viz. For this meeting today, what we specifically want to discuss are your case studies, your plans for the case study, so who's doing them, how are they planning to go about them, when are they happening, and where. And some of you have already provided some of that information, which is great. We want to discuss any questions that you may have about I-ADapt, and then questions about the working group plan. We could, if you have any questions about this per se, we could discuss those now. But if not, we'll go on to ask Derek to speak about the situation analysis. But I'll stop just now just to see if anyone wants to. I'll stop sharing my screen so I can see you all. and ask if anyone has any questions at this stage. Aliu.
Hello, Alida, thanks for your presentation. Concerning the concerning the case studies, for example, you pointed out two things. One, you say that from some country you got already, you know, some input concerning the case studies.
Mm-hmm.
In other, we are always expecting, but in between there are another, how do you say, situation is you have country where you have you know, this will to prepare case studies, but just we need the field to really double check information, because the way information are published and circulated, you know, are not sometimes reliable. So this is just something I wanted just to share with you, because I've sent some, of course, what I've sent was based on some effort I provide, learning documentation, making some small research. But we'd like just to, that you give me 2 additional days in order just, or maybe today in order to improve. Because meanwhile, I have been, you know, searching, you know, more recent and more official data. So what I wanted to say is that it's you have a causal situation where, you know, for example, people who just sent case studies need maybe a couple of hours, one day, in order to confirm, you know, data they have sent. This is my case, for example.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't worry about that, Aliu. I think at this stage we're just doing very kind of higher level look-sees at the case studies, and this is very much just the beginning. So when we talk about having the synthesis workshop, identifying what additional work needs to be done, that's the prime opportunity to address the concerns you have. But there's lots of time before we get there too. So the submissions that we've received from various countries on their case studies, that's don't consider that a final product. This is just to get us started talking.
Of course, but I wanted just to profit to just raise a very brief question. Or is it later that we have to discuss about that, the ways the template have been tailored, you know?
Let's hold those more specific questions for when we talk about the case studies and the template, if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we have any other sort of general questions about the process or the plan for today? I'm not seeing any hands up. Okay.
I have my hand up. Sorry,
oh,
Alida.
I can't see you. Sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead, Ratana. Oh, yeah.
I just learned how to do this, so I have to do it.
Good for you.
I will lower my hand now. I'm just wondering whether we use the term case studies in the same way or not, and I just wondering whether you'd like to clarify that, at least for year one when you talk about case studies, and when we do the synthesis, and then we do the case studies, or we do the community case studies, just to make sure that we're talking about the same thing here, because it seems that in this first year, are we conducting the case studies the way we think of case studies, or are we just gonna trying to find information about the case study in order to eventually conduct a case study?
If I understand your question correctly, the term case study here is being used in the same way as we used it in the V2V proposal. That is, the specific areas of focus that we plan to explore and research through the V2V project to inform how to move from vulnerability to viability. I think there are different stages of the case studies. So at this stage, halfway through year one, we may say, I have a case study in this coastal area with this issue, and describe it X, Y, Z. And it may be that as we progress and understand more about the situation, see what we can understand with the I-ADapt template, what other information, that focus could get narrowed to a more specific area, or it could get broadened to a broader area of the case study. I think that the term case study here is sort of a general area of focus, which will get refined as we move forward with our research and our project. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's really helpful. And it's almost like we can think of study site where we are interested in conducting the study. And of course, the cases will be whatever issues and situations that we call for the study and we want to focus on. Eventually, we will be able to develop a proper case study, applying I-ADapt and etc.
Yep. I think that's in line with what we're thinking, Ratana.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let me just check the hands on my right-hand screen just to make sure there aren't any other hands hiding there. No. Okay, well, we'll move on then. And Derek, would you mind just briefly talking a little bit about the situational analysis and its intent and relationship to the I-ADapt, please?
Yeah, and I think the conversation you just had there was helpful. But Anna Carolina and I are coordinating, and she's going to jump in and go first, and then I'll follow up with anything else after that.
Perfect.
Yes, so the situational analysis to understand the overall context of each country. So if you think that this is a global project, and then each country has its own peculiarities, its own context. So to help us having an understanding of how it happens, for example, what are the main drivers of change? Do they differ in different countries? What are the emerging challenges, or how is the specific governance and policy domain of each country? So that might differ. And after we have this overall understanding, then we go to I-ADapt and conduct the case studies. This might be a process, not one after the other, might be a collaborative process happening simultaneously sometimes. But the idea is to have this overall synthesis of the country and set up the context to understand the case studies. So this is the idea of the situational analysis. It is a flexible template. So we have some sections and guidelines on how to fill it, but there's also space for adding new information according to the specific context of each country. And the focus is to provide an understanding of the small-scale fisheries overall. And then you can use examples of your case studies to fill the template as well, but bear in mind that the focus is on the context of the country itself. And yes, that will help us to conduct the more specifics of the case studies that will go into the I-ADapt domain. And Derek, if you want to complement.
Yeah, no, I think that's the idea, right? It's to help us with that context. So Alida, you mentioned the level of data and information in the different case studies or study sites may vary. And so this is an opportunity for us at that country level, that region level, to start to build that database and that information base. Ratna, you mentioned helping find information for the study sites. And so we see the situational analysis as helping us work towards greater understanding and more detailed understanding through time. And so there's a relationship between these two activities, and they're not necessarily linear, but they may help us further develop that information base for the case studies or for the study sites, depending on how you want to frame it. So that's the intent. And of course, we have we're hoping to get together in April, mid-April, roughly a month from now or so, and to follow up on the status of the situational analysis as well, and further have these conversations. So that's a very brief overview.
And just to complement that, we want to do this webinar on the week of April 12th to 15th. So if you can tell us your availability, that would be great.
Okay. Great, thank you both very much. Does anyone have any questions about what you've heard about the situation analysis and how that connects with the I-ADapt work that we're doing? We've talked about them both before, but just wanted to make sure that everyone had a good understanding of how the situational analysis is intended to both provide a nice broad perspective of our countries and case studies, but also help to inform the I-ADapt work as we move forwards. Oh, great. Excellent. Oh, yeah, Maniba,
sorry.
please. Yeah.
Yes, sorry. I am not so technical savvy as Ratana. I didn't know where that raise hand function was. I was away from Zoom for 1 week and I forgot everything, which is great. Yeah, I also had a question about the situational analysis and the case study sites. So when I looked at the template, it basically indicated that you want a bigger scope in terms of the country. What are the dynamics for small-scale fisheries, or the issues in the country, and where do the case fit in? Because I got a little bit scared that if it is the whole country for I-ADapt, it's going to be quite a lot of intensive work. So I think it is important that that clarity is made. The case sites or study sites for I-ADapt is where the work is going to be done, and the situational analysis is just a broader scope of the country. Often I use a situational analysis in the area that you are working in, and not necessarily a country specific. So I think that was just a little bit of confusion. Is the due date still now? Because I just heard that Derek said there's more time to kind of add to the situational analysis, because I had this 12th March as a submission of the template, but I think we're still trying to work on adding as much as possible to the template. So it would also be good to see, do we have a month of extension on that? Would be great, or do you have a fixed deadline? Thanks.
So yeah, thanks, Maniba. That's first of all, how you frame things. Absolutely, that's a really nice way to put it. So that's really helpful. And yeah, the idea is to provide a little bit more time, because we know there's lots of things going on, and so yeah, we have a bit more time to work on that situational analysis, and we wanted to come together in April, sort of get an update in the status, reflection on how things are going, and move from there. So yep, you have that extra time for sure.
Great. All right. Well, thank you again, Derek and Anna, for explaining a bit more about the situational analysis. What I'd like to do now then is to move into the case studies. We have 12
Sorry, Alida, sorry. Yeah, just to be clear on the deadline. So it's 12th of April then, or I just want to be clear on the extended deadline. Maybe I missed something along the way, but I wanted to be sure on when the situation analysis deadline is.
Okay. Yeah, Anna Carolina, do you want to provide a little quick overview? Yeah.
Yes, so we had the first deadline as mid-March, and then we realized that most of the countries were in the process of doing that and needed more time. So we extended a little bit, and then we'll have this webinar on April that each country can bring their main insights, or how where each country is in the process, and then maybe share any challenges that you might be having with the situational analysis. And then the idea is to, after that webinar, have it done as soon as possible. It will depend on the situation of each country as well. So if you need an extension after that, you can also talk to us.
Okay.
All right, great. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good. So everyone's now clear. You've got another month, and if you talk really nicely to Anna, she might let you have a little more time, right? Okay, so let's move on to the case studies. We have 12 countries. Some have proposed one case study, others have suggested between 2 and 3. Today, we'd really like to just focus on, if you've proposed more than one case study, we'd like just to focus on one for the moment, because we only have a little over an hour. And we want to spend, hopefully about 3 to 5 minutes for each country, so you have time to tell us about the case study and we can discuss a little bit. Now, to remind you, we'd like to know about the case studies, your plans for the case studies. Is this something that students are going to do? Are the students already in place? We have some students online from Indonesia already, so maybe that suggests that in Indonesia there are already students in place to do the case studies, which is great. We'll learn more about that as we move on. Again, questions about the I-ADapt template, and just make sure that as we move forward, we all have a good understanding. And what we need to do from the working group perspective is understand a bit more about the process and your plans around the case study. So where do we begin? We received, I think, some case study slides from 5 countries. So I suggest that we start, perhaps we'll start in Asia and start with those 2 countries first. And then we'll just ask each of the other representatives just to speak to their case studies if they haven't prepared slides. I guess I should share the slides. Ghazi, maybe can we ask you to speak first?
Okay, we can. I will share the slide, or you share?
Well, if you would like to share, please go ahead.
Okay.
If
Okay, I can share.
Okay.
Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay. So the case study we are planning to do in the area in the east coast of Malaysia. Malaysia has 3 coastal areas. So east coast is much more important in terms of the poor fishermen and also in terms of the resource. So we have identified 2 sites from east coast, and the east coast Malaysia is in the South China Sea. So these out of 13 small islands, and all islands are gazetted as a marine park island. So from the 13, we choose 2, one small and one the large island. So this okay. So the number of people you can see here, the contributor is some more contributors is coming, but as we start with the work, only we put 3 names, but there are some other contributors coming later on. So the area is 2 islands in the east coast, and the location is Malaysia is climate is a tropical climate, and high temperature, high humidity, and rainfall, and it is a coral reef ecosystem, and this is one of the countries in the Coral Triangle Initiative in the Southeast Asia. So this is very valuable coral reef ecosystem in the marine islands. Main issues in the island is all the marine parks have been gazetted in 1990s. After the government realized that fisheries resources are declining in 1980. So after realizing this problem, they have marine protected area gazetted in all the islands in Malaysia. So this including the east coast. So this is the starting of this program, marine protected areas. In the marine protected areas, all the marine protected areas are no-take zone. So they are restricted, fishermen are restricted to fish in the 2 kilometers from the shore. And this is the starting point for the issues. And then the fishermen have seized their license, so they are not allowed to fish anymore in the fisheries. And in the last 20 years, there have a lot of development works have been done in the MPS due to the promotion of the tourism industry, and the tourism industry has been promoted very significantly in the coastal islands, and Malaysia declared as a tourism country. So there are different goals for tourism development. So and there are in total, there are 11,000 fishermen, small scale fishermen in Terengganu, and represent 13% of the total fishermen of Malaysia. And these and the fishermen are very poor, poorest of the poor in the East Coast compared to other areas. And in the last 20 years, the development projects have been done a super development work in the islands. The developmenters include the very highly developed jetty, the hotels, restaurants, and chalet, and this created a lot of problems for the local people. They are not going to fish. They have changed the occupation totally. In Perhentian Island, no one fishing now. They have joined in the tourism-related activities, and some of the very old fishermen, they have already shifted their work from fishing to other activities. And the social and ecological and environmental problems are serious in the islands because of the very small island, too many people, and too much development work. So, and this development work is a very concrete based development work. And when the concrete based development work taken place, the resources like the water contamination, the sewerage problem, the lot of other the anthropogenic impacts on the islands and surrounding island waters. And there is no studies in the last 20 years that prove that the fishery resources enhance. So there is no sign of enhancing fishery resources. So now people are very unhappy for their development work. And the development work are not consulted with the local people. They just did it, the government, the agency. So this is the big problem for the local people. And they are very vulnerable during the crisis time, like the pandemic time. Pandemic time, all the tourism activities are closed for the last few months, half of the year. So people have nothing to do for income earning activities. And the other problems in the area is about the pollution and the tourism activities, which is unsustainable, diving activities, in snorkeling activities. So, and there are other animals also affected, like there are very famous turtle groups in the islands. So the turtles population declining very significantly. So the total ecosystem has changed, and also due to the climate change. There was a coral bleaching event in 2010 in the South Asia, and the islands are very negatively affected due to coral bleaching that time. So all this stressing the phenomena in the islands is really very difficult to the local people to survive. And the resources are very competitive now, because all the land and the resources belong to the local people. So, and this market activities are very strong, the business group, and the business group linked with the political people.
Ghazi, can I interrupt just a minute, please? I'm going to have to ask you just to speed up a little bit, please, because we have to get through all 12 countries. Yeah, if you could just try to wrap up in the next minute or two.
I'm finishing in 2 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So the problem related to the power relations. So power relations meaning that the resource belong to the local people, and local people are not very strong. The poor people. So the poor people, they lease out their lands to other people, and the other people they invested a lot of in development work in the area. And so land market and other market are very expensive in the area. So they are losing their lands, they are losing their property from ownership. Okay, so these are the important problems. And the location I have discussed already. The location is 25 to 35 kilometers from the land, from the coast, and the main species in the island, many species, about more than 200 species, but these are the very important species still visible in the area. And the main habitats are coral reef related resources, and there are 6,000 inhabitants in the 2 islands in 6 villages. So both islands have inhabitants, 1 plus 5 villages, and around 6,000 people, and only 2,300 people are still fishing in the on island. Okay, so these are the key stakeholders: fishermen, boatmen, tourism people, and okay. So the critical problem is to look at now the research questions from the I-ADapt framework. I think we can look at the governance aspect of the resources and why the resources are degradation because of the unfair distribution to of the benefits to the community. They have not very well to make their plans together, and then we need to also explore the strengths and weaknesses of the communities for the capacity building area, so that we know which management is fit for the local context, because the context is different. Although it is the similar problem, but the context is different between the islands. That's all. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Ghazi. Can I just ask a couple of questions briefly? So you say you have more contributors joining you or plan to have with the case study.
Yes.
Is there to what extent do you think that you can complete the I-ADapt template currently with existing information?
I think in the template, there are adequate questions that cover the social, ecological, and governance aspect of the management. So I think we can cover, I think, a lot of information from the template, current template.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, wonderful. That's a great start. Thank you, Ghazi, for taking the time to put those slides together. And do you have a question, Naliu? Am I seeing a hand? No? Okay. Okay. I think I will move on then to the next case study from Malaysia, which is from Indonesia. Now, Professor Indah is not on the call, but I think four of the students are on the call. And in my conversation with Professor Indah, she agreed to talk only about or not only, but mostly about the Karangyak Tegal project. So I don't know which of the students is planning to talk to this. Any volunteers?
Hapsari.
Perfect. Would you like me to share my screen or would you like to share yours?
I will share
You'll share yours? Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. And again, Hapsari, if you can take about 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Alida. First of all, because I'm here to represent my professor, I will convey and apologize for Prof. Indah as she cannot be here this evening because she must have meeting with Ministry of Education. Okay, so our first research have a title, Understanding and Vulnerability of Small-Scale Fishers in Karang Jeruk Conservation, Tegal, Indonesia. So, yes, incorporate in this research is myself, Hapsari, and to my professors, Prof. Indah Inde Sosilowati and Prof. Hadianto from Environmental Science, because this research has connected to with environment, eventually inseparable. So, the description of main issue, as I can see that is directly adjacent to Java Sea. Many residents in the coastal area of the Regency have livelihood as fishers. However, not all fishers on the coast of the Regency are high income. In addition, the factors of season, price, market expansion of the large fishing industry, government policies are largely the character of coastal communities. Depending on these factors that cause them to be vulnerable. This research examines how to identify the types and characteristics of small-scale fishers to see how fishers perceive vulnerability, how to identify the priority of these vulnerability of factors, and how properly manage small-scale fishers in Munjung Agung village to deal with vulnerability. This research is mixed method, not just qualitative but quantitative itself. And the location is conducted in Munjung Agung village or Larangan Fisher village in Kramat district, Tegal Regency, Indonesia. And the distance of Karangjeruk is from coastline is 3 nautical miles parallel to the fishing village of Larangan. And the size of marine area in our case study is 53,460. I beg you my apologies. And main species is Terinasi and Trijawa. This is a anchovies fish, and main habitats is small-scale fishers, fish trader, fishing community, inshore water, cold storage, and the key persons is academicians, government, business, and community, and the number of people affected by the main issue is 2,476, and total number of our case study is 6,257. When the main issues occur is about 5 years ago. So the next plan in our research is do comparison research in Panjang Island. Panjang Island is located in Jepara. And second, research development in Karangjeruk area is because growing sluggish. So we will do comparison research in Panjang Island and want to see how small-scale fishers survive on Panjang Island and incorporate tourism in a way to be viable. So our questions is about I-ADapt is, can I-ADapt be applied to coastal tourism development? Thank you, Alida.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. So it wasn't quite clear to me whether, is this research that's ongoing or that's planned? This is your research for that you're leading, Hapsari?
Yes, the research in Karangjeruk is ongoing.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Yes.
And I'll ask you the same question that I asked Ghazi. In terms of what information is currently available, to what extent do you think you could complete the I-ADapt template?
I think we have been doing several works in the area quite long time. So we have some information already published and some not published, but we have good information.
You agree, Hapsari?
So we have information so that we can start with the literacy review.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Can I
Prateep,
quickly
yes. Yes, please.
Just 2 quick points. One is in most of the country level case studies, it looks like people are already, there is already ongoing research to varying degrees. So that's going to contribute to the I-ADapt case study process itself. So that is something to note. And the other one is especially linked to these two case study presentations by Indonesia and Malaysia, is the case study area itself. So what do you see as a case study area? Is it a village? Is it a combination of communities? Is it a social ecological system, which could be the East Coast, the Parentian Islands, in the case of Malaysia, and the Java Sea, that particular coast in Indonesia. So some ideas about what is this. What is the unit of the case study, or what is the extent of the case study, in terms of not only geography, but also the issues to be covered and all, so those are the two things that are emerging from the past two presentations. We'll discuss that more.
Yep. Good. Thank you. I note that we've received a presentation from India, from the West Bengal research team. So who would, Raktima, you'll present this? Now, I noticed, sorry, just before you start, I noticed that there are a lot of slides here. So we can't go through, so we asked for 3 slides, just a brief review. And so, please go ahead and speak to this, but we can't go through each slide in detail. So maybe we have about 5.
Yeah, sure. I'll not be going into detail. I will be briefing it. May I just share the screen first, then I think.
Yes, please do. Perfect.
Is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah. So the title of our research apparently is Fishing Beyond Fisheries, Volatile Interfaces and Small-Scale Fisheries of the Indian Sundarbans. This is our information about the case study contributors who are there in this V2V working group. Our principal investigators, Dr. Jinya Mukherjee and Priyadashi Patnaik, unfortunately, they are unable to join today. And we have the research scholars from IIT Kharagpur, including myself. And then I'm moving directly to the description of the case study area and the main issues. So the name of the study area is the Indian Sundarban, which includes the Sundarban Biosphere Reserve administratively. And it is situated in the country of India, and geographic location is mentioned here in terms of coordinates. And it is recognized by UNESCO as World Heritage Site, as well as it's the Ramsar site of wetland of importance, and it is situated at the southern tip of the Ganga Brahmaputra Delta and is bounded by the Bay of Bengal at its south. So it is actually the Indian part of the continuous mangrove stretch within the Ganga Brahmaputra Delta. And it is geographically situated at the humid tropical region, and it constitutes 102 islands, of which 54 are inhabited and 48 are forested. And there are the 3 areas or zones which have been divided within the SBR, and it includes the core area, and then the buffer area, and transition area. So we are mainly concerned about the core area and buffer area, which are mostly accessed by the small scale fishers over the Indian Sundarban. And the ecosystem type is tropical deltaic, coastal, and also mangrove. Then the main issue, actually, there is no specific main issue in this area. There are manifold issues which are equally important. So somehow we have managed to describe some of them. So the coupled social, ecological, and political vulnerabilities are there. And it is fragile and vulnerable ecosystem, which is prone to intense and incessant real life threats. It is also climatically challenged. There are manifold enclosures which arise from the interfaces of power hierarchies and the poor within this region. In order to conserve the Bengal tiger, stringent paper and penalty-based regulations have been imposed on the forest dwellers who mainly depend on the mangrove-based fishing, crab and prawn seed collection to earn their livelihoods. And they are mostly the settlers, and it includes includes an historic account. Anyway, on the contrary, the SBID is strategically opened to the top-tier loop of entrepreneurs and bureaucrats for commercial shrimp cultivation, small-scale industries, and ecotourism. Apart from these complications, there are other social political constraints coming from the gender issues and the discriminations and suppression of the rights and regulations, customary rights specifically. So these are also posing challenges to the small-scale fishers in the Indian Sundarban. There are mainly two types of fishers: the fishers who actually collect fish and crabs from the mangrove creeks, and the fishers who practice fishing within the inland freshwater ponds or wherries. So, however, we have done our primary survey. That was an in-depth survey actually, and we conducted 6 focus group discussions with the local fishers. So we gathered many information from our first survey, and we are planning to visit the area in the last week of April. However, the land river forest alliance on which the ecosystem people are reliant is further endangered by evident environmental changes which come from the global climate alterations or global climatic changes. Erratic monsoon, increasing salinity levels, frequent cyclonic storms are inevitable consequences of climate change in this region. And it also have these have also their impacts on the agriculture, fishing, and freshwater supply in the inhabited islands of Indian part of Sundarban. Moreover, absence of trust, synergic communication, and collective decision-making spaces have aggravated the everyday social ecological contours and affected policy implementations. So these accruing impacts are affecting not only the health of the ecosystem, but also the people who are dependent on this ecologically challenged territory. So
about one more minute, please, Raktima.
Yeah. There is typically no marine area within this, as the template asked for the aerial extent of marine ecosystem. However, main species, there are many species actually. During the colonial times, this area was biodiverse actually, but after that, after land reclamation, the species started to be extinct. And then presently mangrove is the dominant floral species over here. There are many mangrove plant species, and Heritiera forms is the major mangrove species, which is locally called Sundari. And from this Sundari, the term the local dialect Sundarban has come up. And there are many amphibians, invertebrates, and various types of fish are there in this region. And also, because of this water pollution and all, some of the species are becoming extinct. And within that, Irrawaddy dolphin and olive ridley turtles too. And the Royal Bengal tiger, which is the iconic animal over the Indian Sundarban, which is protected in the Sundarban National Park. And the main habitats: tropical deltaic, riverine, and coastal. And this is the size of non-inhabited and inhabited by people in the case study. So this is the measures. Key stakeholders: local fishers, fishing associations, local middlemen who actually intervene within the value chain process of small-scale fisheries in this region. Then government and non-government organizations, self-help groups are the key stakeholders of this region. And then these are some measures regarding number of people affected by the main issue. Actually, the number is more than 60,000. It may reach to actually more than 80,000. So we don't currently have specific number which can tell us how many people are affected by this main issue. Total number of people in the case study region around 4.5 million people. And the main issue occurred as a physical crisis can be largely contextualized within the shock of Anthropocene, and also the British colonialism started it, which actually carried through the formation of the SBR in 1989. there's other geographical areas that are also affected by this issue. Yes, the eastern section of Sundarban consisting Sundarban reserve forest in Bangladesh, which has similar issues and similar geographies. Then I can move to the last slide, that is I-ADaPT template, which can be used for this typological assessment of empirical observations in the case study region and deriving multifaceted comparisons with other geographical areas with similar issues like that of Bangladesh part, and complement the template with more or added fields with potentials for scalability and informed along the specific empirical site. So the scalability and comparative assessments are quite significant in terms of the usages of this I-ADaPT template. And also we have felt that there is some specificity within this template because the issues are so intricate and interrelated with one another. So to specify one issue is quite difficult for us. So however, the template can be used for these kinds of assessments and analysis in India Sundarban. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Raktima. I think your last point there speaks to what became very clear from your presentation, is that there's multiple diverse issues going on, and it's in some cases like this, it's very hard to say there's one single issue. They're interrelated, and this is apparent in some of the other case studies we've heard already, and I know other ones that are being proposed or existing. So I think that's one of the questions we have as we move forward with the I-ADaPT template, is how do we encompass more than just one main issue? We have to think about the complexity of issues and how they're manifested. So thank you for pointing that out, and that's something we'll keep in mind as we move forwards. The scale of your case study, of course, is very different from some of the others, very big, involving a lot of people. So again, it's that contrast that Prateep spoke to. Okay, I'm going to move on now. Thank you very much for that presentation.
Yeah. Hello, Alida, if I may come in briefly.
Yes, please.
I have a meeting in 27 minutes, so maybe if the others can really speed up the process, because I have a meeting in 27 minutes, I have to leave.
Right, yes, and I know that others have to leave it on the top of the hour too. Clearly we needed longer than 2 hours for this meeting, and so that was bad planning on our part. I was going to ask Samia to speak next, but Frederic, I don't know if you want to speak to your case study first, just so that we don't miss it.
I'm available to do that, if that's okay.
Yeah, can you be brief?
Yeah, very, very
We'll take
brief,
you at your
yeah.
word. Okay, super. Thank you very much. Sorry, Samia,
Yes.
we'll come to you next if that's okay.
Yeah, please, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, so we have typically two communities on the west coast of Ghana. In fact, our entire coastline is 550 kilometers, and these are actually tilted to the west coast of Ghana. And these communities were chosen because we wanted to see contrast. Look, we have different ethnicities and different cultures. So we are looking at Unlock Beach community, which is a migrant community, and then Aquida community, which is pretty much indigenous. Yes, so you can see them on the west coast of Africa, Ghana. Yes. Now, so if we look at Unlock Beach, they have been located where they are, their present location for about 80 years. And then if you look at their ecology, this community is located on a sandbar with a river to the north, where you have a lot of artisanal gold mining taking place. So you have influx of upstream activities, which is impacting them. And then also you have issues about heavy rains, flooding, erosion, siltation in that particular community. This is Aquida community, sorry, Unlock Beach community. Then the second one is Aquida community. Aquida community is not a migrant community. It has been there for eons of time, and it's pretty native to that particular community. And here again, for both of the two communities, the major source of livelihood is small-scale fisheries. And you have high levels of poverty during off-season, a lot of strong surges, heavy rains, flooding, erosion, siltation. These are all defining characteristics of Aquida community. Now, we chose these two communities for good reason. We wanted to see some of the intrinsic and then extrinsic factors that give rise to vulnerability, and then intrinsic and extrinsic factors that give rise to viability within these two communities. And given that the I-ADapt is looking at the issues about livelihood, socio-ecological resilience, adaptive capacity, we know that these are issues that are rooted in culture. So we wanted to look at how these two communities are able to navigate the process of vulnerability and transition to viability. And here we know that one of the core components of the I-ADapt is to look at the issue of gender empowerment institutions. So here we're looking at how gender mediates or moderates how these small-scale fisheries experience vulnerability or viability within this complex socio-ecological system. So this is what I can say for the context of Ghana briefly. I'm open to questions.
Thank you very much, Frederick. I guess a couple questions quickly for you is, so who's undertaking the research? Who's going to be working with I-ADapt? Do you have people in place?
Okay. Yes, yes. So I've shown on the screen now, you can, I don't know whether you see it in the Word document on screen.
No.
Do you see the Word document on screen?
No.
Maybe you could just briefly tell the names.
Yes.
And,
yeah.
Yes. So definitely Evans is going to be part of it. And we are actually recruiting 2 PhD students that will also be involved in the process. Okay. So Sika is going to be part of it. Esenam is going to be part of it. These 2 ladies are definitely going to be part of it. And then we are recruiting 2 PhD students who are also going to look at various aspects of the case studies.
Great. Super. Thank you very much, Frederick. Okay, you can stop sharing now, please.
Okay.
Quickly then, any questions for Frederick? Aliou? Can't hear you. You're on mute.
Sorry, I say it's for our case study. I have no question for Ghana.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I apologize. We did not allow enough time for this. We'll try to get through those case studies that we can today. And so thank you, Frederick. That was very helpful. Samia, would you like to go next, please?
Yes, thanks, Alida. I'll try to keep it very brief. And I don't have slides to go with that, sorry. So, right, so from Bangladesh, we have 3 NGO project partners who work in 3 parts of the country, and we have 2 universities, and we have identified 3 sites for now that we want to work with. One is in the Sundarbans, and the background and the problems is very similar to what was already explained in the India case studies. So looking at small-scale fisheries there, problems with there's anthropogenic problems, climate change, access, what happens during the ban. So a lot of issues around there. On the southeast, it's more specific. So Sundarbans, we only have 2 villages we have worked with in the past, and we want to continue working there. My co-country coordinator, the other one, Mahmoud, has already worked there, so we have an idea where we want to do it there, but it's not confirmed yet. On the southeast, we want to work in Cox's Bazar, which in Moishkali Island specifically, and there's few things happening there around blue economy development. So there's a large infrastructure projects happening. At the same time, due to the fishing ban, we know there's a lot of problems with fisher identity. Those who can get help from the government during the fishing ban, problems they face, plus really lack of diversified alternate income options for these fishermen. So that's specifically the problems we want to look at in Moishkali, which is also my postdoc case site. So just looking at synergies between my work with small-scale fishermen there and our V2V site. The other 3rd region, which we are also keen to explore, is up north, northeast in the floodplain area, and again in the Haur area, which is again a different type of ecosystem than the other 2 in the coast. And our project partner CNRS have been working there for the last many, many years on access, common property issues, not land grabbing, river grabbing, if that's a term, and vulnerabilities also due to flash floods there, but mostly on access and the problems they face from flash floods and disaster that occurs there. So these are the case sites. Each have their own distinct problem, but one of the overarching problems is this fisher identity. The vulnerabilities they face due to not being registered as fishermen, what makes them fishermen. Sometimes they're hired workers on the boats, but they're fishermen. So again, not going into details, but those are some of the issues we're looking at. Who will be doing it is we have a PhD student who will be starting at SAU, and their work will be focused mostly on the coastal sites, so Sundarban specifically. From ULab, we also have a master's student and myself will be looking on the southeast, and our project partners very much based on the northeast. But they also have sites in the south. So
Oh, we've lost your volume, Samia.
Yeah. Sorry, I just so as I don't know where I last said that we'll be working in the south, the PhD student and from ULab, and then with our project partners, NGO partners who have strong base, and we're working with small scale fisheries in the northeast in the Howrah area. And I will stop there.
Okay, that's wonderful. So a lot, a lot going on. I think one of the key messages that's coming strongly here is very complex situations. So I think let's make some very interesting case studies for the V2V project. All right, we'll move now to Yinji. Do you want to tell us about Japan?
Okay, I don't have, yes, briefly, yes, I don't have slide either. Our case study, Suruga Bay is located in Shizuoka Prefecture. And many of you, some of you have already tasted a blessing from the Suruga Bay when we had in-bird dimension, human dimension working group meeting. This bay, the surface is quite a big open bay. The surface area is around 2,300 square kilometers. And apart from its diverse small-scale fisheries, this is the deepest bay in Japan, which is famous for its deep sea creatures too. And this bay has, there are around 12, 13 cooperatives in this bay, and one cooperative covering for like 1, 2, 3, or 4 small-scale fishing communities. And the main issue is the resource decline. So we want to concentrate on this resource decline, this issue, which haven't made clear about the cause of the decline. And this research is ongoing, and we have already quite a lot of information. We already can start filling out the template. And 2 CCs, and with my students, we're going to do that. Yes, that's all from me. Thank you.
That's great, Yinji. Thank you. And then I think our last case from Asia is from Thailand, Suvalak. Can you give us a brief overview of your plans?
Suvalak just texted me and told me that she had to step out for a little bit, so bad timing for me.
Okay.
But seems that she might still be online, but let me just fill in, start, and then if she comes back, she would add whatever. But basically, the way we went about deciding where we might want to do the research for V2V is based on a little bit of long-term collaboration that our team has with this group of communities in the south of Thailand. They have, the community is situated in a semi-open bay, and it's a pretty large body of water, and there's a lot of shellfish farming in the area. And but small-scale fishing people actually are using there is a bit of conflict between the capture fisheries by small boats and the shellfish farmers. These are, the cockles, so they really use the area, so they have concession on the sea. So there's a space conflict, basically. But the particular community that we have been working with, well, the Bay in the last 10 years, they have decided that they would do zoning in order to kind of differentiate the area. But the owner of the farms are all kind of big companies, very influential and powerful. So there's a major violation between the two groups, the small-scale fishers and the farmers, because fishers claim that it's their right to enter the area, whereas the farmers would say that this is their concession area. So there has been violence and etc. But this particular community that we are interested in, or we have been, working relationship with, also said that they want to conserve the area. So they are actually doing their own community-based protected area. The problem with that is the other small-scale fishing people who do not do the conservation are also trying to enter and fish within the community that is conserving the area. So that is basically the situation. So we are interested in doing research there in terms of the team. There will be, the V2V team plus the community themselves and other communities that we need to engage with in the other side of the bay. Data, it's a little bit, Thai people really don't have, they don't write papers so much. So, except for our team. So we might not have a lot of literature. So it's going to require a lot of digging into some of the stats that the government might have, but that would be at a level which is more difficult to find. And then we have to just go there. So we're planning to go there next week to take a look and see what's going on. And then what else you need to know? Is that good enough?
I think that's great for now. You're planning to hire students, right, to help you with this?
Either students or research assistants.
Yeah, good. No, that's great. Thank you very much.
That we might want to get with. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we've got all our case studies from Malaysia, and Aliu, I see your hand keep coming up there. I see it. So we can't hear you though. You have on mute. Aliu, you're on mute. Aliu.
I want just to know at what time, please, we'll end our meeting. Just
Yeah, we'll try to end as close to 10 as possible. I would like to try and cover, we have, I'm sorry, we have Senegal, Nigeria, South Africa, and Malawi that we want to cover before we leave here. And so I know that Moniba needs to leave at 10 promptly. So maybe Moniba will ask you to go first, and then we'll go to you, Aliu, and then we'll take an order, if that's okay. Okay. Moniba, would you like to just give us a brief overview of your case study plans?
Yes, I also do not have slides, but I have my Word document that I could share. Just to kind of save time, the area that I've also chosen is the area that I've worked on for quite some time. I'm still struggling to find what would be the exact topic of this, but it is around access and whether it's rights to resources, land, and also rights. It's related to marine issues, but it's complex. So the topic for now, it's tenure rights and the blue economy, and in the Overberg district, Western Cape province. So people who would be kind of instrumental in doing the work would be myself and research assistant like Tracy. My colleague Mafa is not quite sure around in terms of the work, but I think that we have a team working on it. So it's temperate, the area, it's coastal, and the main issue is basically struggle for tenure rights, marine land access and user rights in marine protected area, which is critical for small scale fisheries. There's also a lack of access rights, has increased social and economic vulnerabilities of coastal communities, and this impact on food security. Access to fishing grounds are prohibited in some places due to privatization. So the blue economy and the issues around the blue economy is there. But there's also a big issue of illegal fishing and also fisheries crime, organized syndicates and corruption that also impacts on the social and economic vulnerabilities. Their species are high value and it's often exported. Like the abalone is it's almost a criminal species, if I want to call it that, because it's rooted into crime and syndicates and corruption. But also the lionfish species like yellowtail are all exported. And then there's a challenge between inshore trawling and targeting the lionfish species in this area. So these are basically the issues. This is the area. It is the southernmost tip of the African continent. So I'm glad Alida made me go first and not Alu, because he's only on the western coast of Africa, not the southernmost important place. Just joking. Marine species are abalone, lobster, yellowtail, the Cape salmon. Habitats are rocky shores and so on. This is basically the size of the area. It's not a huge amount of people. It's about 10,000 people in about 4 communities in and around the Southern Cape Coast that we are talking about. Yeah, a question just to end off, Alida, to add more complexity to the I-ADaPT framework, I think we should include the issues of the impact of the COVID-19 on small-scale fisheries. So yeah, overfishing happening, crime, syndicates that impacts social vulnerability, and also the issue of trawling that are overfishing. So I'm not quite clear on what are the exact issue to deal with, because there are so many.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to stop share my screen, and yeah, I hope that was short enough.
That was great, Muniba. Thank you. And again, a situation where there are many issues and there's no one prominent. So I think it's, again, a theme we have to carry forward. And I note your point about COVID-19 and how we include that in the template. So that we note that for future talking, because we won't have time to discuss that today, unfortunately, but it's a good point. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on to Aliou from Senegal. And now we also have, sorry, I'm just going back to my notes here. Somebody online that, yes, Khadi from University of Dhaka, who's stepping in for Professor Fatou too. So if Aliou, if you would like to go first, and then we would ask Khadi to add any additional items.
Okay. Thank you very much. I would like just, it's a 3 minutes we are given, 3 minutes.
Please.
Okay. The first thing is that I'm in a specific institution that is an NGO. It's very important to remind. And even if we have been making research since years and years, there's a couple of years in the small-scale fisheries. So I don't know whether you want to visualize the case studies I've sent, but I can summarize it if you want verbally. You want to visualize it, or it's not necessary?
No, I think, but at this stage, Alio, and because
Okay,
we're
thank you.
short
It's
for
okay.
time, please.
It's okay. So we will work in the northern part of Senegal in Langue de Barbarie. That is a very specific, how you say, ecosystem, very fragile, because taken as like a sandwich, between between the river, how we say, the sea, and a cycle, cyclic, flooding, water flooding, since decades and decades. In addition to that, we have dams that have been that was constructed by the government, and this dam unfortunately produce an unexpected result as they contribute a lot to the expanding and the way to flood, so water flooding. So there is a combination of issues in this very specific and fragile ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
That really wasn't the small-scale fishing communities the situation, social condition of living. So our main now, because of this issue, we have many other related issues in a context where oil and gas exploration, are going on, meaning how to access to land, how to access to sea with the competition of the oil exploration, as a gender specific to gender oriented issues related to sea elevation, with the effect of climate change, and what we would like really, this issue are addressed sometimes by fish workers organization, but they are not documented. The way, how many are really affected by these issues, combination of issues, how many and how they are affected. So we need to conduct surveys in this part on the in the northern part of Senegal, but we're working with surveyors, because we have been conducting, we used to conduct research with many universities, like University of Louvain, University of in Belgium, or as a part even in Senegal, in the northern part. So our main is how today throughout V2V, how V2V can help reconstructing the data we have, because the data we have, quantitative data, it's a very difficult sometimes to rely on this quantitative data. At the same time, you don't have any qualitative data. And if you want to really to address and just to assess how these people are affected by the combination of issue, we need, to have some social science, perspective, meaning assessing how they are affected. There is any really document on which and that are really, recent, on which we can rely in order to appreciate, the ways this combination of issues really affect, this population, depending, directly on small-scale fisheries. So this is what we would like to do for future with our surveyors we used to work with, because we have already conducted, many research, either for FAO or as like Mindero, for example, recently foundation. We are leaning on these people. We are working since years, and we used to work together. So this is what we plan to do with the help of one jurist that is part of our team, and another, geographer who is working with us since 2 years. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, thank you, Alio. And so we also have Hadi on the line. Did you want to?
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Alida. So I don't know if it would be relevant to present again, because we would like to talk about the case study that Mr. Sal was talking about. So I don't. So I have just one question. Are we going to choose another case study, or are we going to continue with this case study? because we have the same with Mr. Aliu.
Yes, I think, Hadi, that's a discussion we might defer and have separate from this meeting for now. What I might suggest is perhaps you could tell us about one of the other 2 case studies that you're proposing.
Because I was just preparing slides from the northern part of the country, the one that was talking, Mr. Sal.
So you just prepared one slide?
Yes.
I see. Okay.
So
Then,
I don't know
so maybe, do you have some additional information you would like to share about the case study?
just about the number of people affected. As Mr. Sal said that they did not have information, but we have information, but this information date from 2018. According to the number of people affected, we have information from the ADM that said that 2,000 families are affected in this area. So we have got this information from I-ADM, but it dates from 2018.
Okay.
This is the information. Apart of that, Prof. Ali, Mr. Ali have already talked about the essential.
Okay. So we have this case in Langue de Barrière from Senegal, and we've heard from Aliou, and now Hadi has given us a little bit more information about it. And I think we need to, separately from this meeting, then we'll talk a bit more about these case studies and how we move forward with Senegal.
So I would just would like to know if we have to choose another case study, is it possible to choose another case study, or are we going to work together with Mr. Aliou?
I think Prateep would like to comment, please.
I mean, it's great that you both have the same case study. What needs to be done here is that, this is a country case study, and the country team needs to focus on it as a team. So as Alida mentioned, we can talk about that in a separate meeting, but I'm happy that, you are at least talking about the same case study, and we need to combine hands and combine forces to see how the team can progress on the case study itself. Can you keep it for another discussion?
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, Hadi will discuss about that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sal.
Okay, perfect. Now, we're very much running out of time, but I know that Ishmael from Malawi had taken the trouble to prepare some slides. So Ishmael, perhaps we'll ask you to speak to the case studies from Malawi, please. Are you still with us, Ishmael? Yes.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. I'm not sure if you can share the slide, because I think I'm using my phone, so I will not be able to check. But if not, then I can just quickly say what it is, and that people are aware of what issues are. Maybe the starting point would be that there is a team working on this, and the team is composed of the University of Malawi, where I'm working, but also there is the government of Malawi through the Department of Fisheries, and Friday Njaya, as well as Moffat Manasseh, who are there. They'll be working from that side. But we also have a non-government organization called CRECOM, which will also support the well-being and livelihood support arm of the I-ADaPT framework. And I would also want to report right now that we have managed to recruit students who assist us in this work. But also we are in the process of recruiting the second student. So it's university procedures, regulations, whatever. But we are in the process of recruiting our second student to support us on this activity. So we'll have like 2 students who would like to work with right now. Okay, so I can see the slide you're sharing. Thank you. And the nature of the area we are working on is an inland drainage tropical lake in the southern part of Malawi. And the basin lies in it's more of an aquatic freshwater ecosystem, and the lake itself is an enclosed system, as I said, an inland or no outlet, so to be specific. And the major vulnerabilities for this particular inland drainage lake is that over a period of time, like from historically 1903 to 2019, the lake has completely dried up about 11 times. So the small-scale fisheries livelihoods that depend on lake are usually in continuous shock and uncertainty. And that is coupled with a lot of other vulnerabilities like hyperpopulation growth around the basin, rural poverty, pollution, deforestation, catchment degradation, climate change, all these other issues which colleagues also from India, from South Africa, from Japan have mentioned already. And of course, the lack of a proper governance system to govern the ecosystem. And because of that, then there are a lot of issues that we may want to study using the I-ADapt framework, which I feel is an exciting, complete whole world where we can explore what to do. But I can assure you that it's quite an exciting and really an area that also has attracted a lot of other previous studies where our own work will build on. So if you allow me, a leader, to pause there, and if there are any explanations I have to do, I will just do that using the slides or some information that I already have. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ishmael. I appreciate you taking a bit more hurried approach than you would prefer to do. I guess one thing we should ask all those who presented slides or sent us documents, can we share these with everyone? So if those of you who are interested in some of the case studies that we've gone a bit through quickly, perhaps if we can share them with everyone, and I think everyone's copied on the emails actually, but we can put them to our I-ADapt Dropbox, so it gives everyone an opportunity to go back. And sorry, I haven't forgotten Shahir Akintola, that we're going to talk about Nigeria still. So please, if I may give you the floor for our, give us an overview of the case study for Nigeria.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Alida, and everyone. Well, I'm going to make this very short, given the fact that most of the issues have been raised in other case studies that have been mentioned here today. But just to give a background as to the case study, our case study is a water body, it's a creek and a coastal and creek system that's run across 3 countries, from Cameroon through Republic of Benin and then Nigeria into the Atlantic Ocean. So it supports a multi-gear, multi-species fisheries. And then interesting thing is that for anybody who has interacted with the creek, there's been a lot of changes over the years. Incidentally, it was the same creek I did my PhD on, and each time you visit, you are amazed with a lot of developmental activities that has taken place in the last 10 years, and the different impacts on the water body. The water, because of historical importance to the slave, the West African slave, it serves as a route up to Ghana and other countries. So it has many interesting dimensions, which I think is very interesting for us, particularly to fit into the I-ADapt case study. There are so many complexities. It also allows us to, like any water body near the sea, the issues of flooding comes up. And also the place is now being dug. I mean, there's electricity planned to begin to use the place for electricity. And incidentally, again, Lagos State, where the water is situated, is the economic capital of Nigeria. So many of the developmental issues affecting Nigeria is also taking place simultaneously on the water body. There have been some semblance of information. We've been able to push some information even into the TBTI information systems on small-scale fisheries, but there's still a lot of work to do. Also, the states is now joining states that are oil-producing nations, oil-producing states in Nigeria. So, which are recent development, which were not hitherto there when I was working on the water body. So there's also the tension of capture fisheries and then culture fisheries because of cage culture. Nigeria massively is promoting cage culture, and some of these are happening along the coast, the coastal water. So for us, it's interesting to see how these fit and then use the I-ADaPT tool to study so many of these dimensions, complexity, and the rest of them. So this is why we are taking this as our case study. And part of the problem is also more or less reflect the situational analysis for the country, because most of the issues we have raised are also happening on the same water body. So it's interesting to study how the flooding is working, and then the impact of digging, impact of also other artisanal activities which compete with fishing, transport, and the rest of them. So, and we want to see how this fits perfectly, like I said, into the I-ADaPT tool. So this is just a summary. The plan is to have a postgraduate student, maybe master's, a PhD, and then support with research assistant. It is for all of us in Nigeria, because, like I said, it represents almost all of drivers that are affecting small-scale fisheries. And it's moving from, in the past, when I was doing my PhD, the level of disturbance was almost zero. But within the last 10 years, you just marvel. Is this the same water body? So thank you. This is just to whet our appetite. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So I would ask those of you who haven't sent us slides or a Word doc with these brief descriptions, if you could do so, please. I think we would find that very helpful for our planning purposes. I think what we'd also like to do is to follow up with you individually, just to get a bit more information in some cases and start that discussion. And as we say, our plan is to start where we can, thinking about how we can start to use the I-ADaPT template with the information from these case studies that we currently have, and to assess where we are, what we know, what we don't know, where the gaps are. We'll follow up with an email about this and start to outline a sort of where we hope to go, when our plans for our next meeting, what we'd like you to try to prepare for that. Because for each meeting, we want to be able to then talk about where we're going with the case studies, some progress, problems we have, questions we have. We'll try to plan it time-wise a little bit better, so it's not so rushed and we don't go over. We've obviously got a lot of rich case studies, lots of information to talk about. We haven't even really started to talk yet then about the more hands-on application of the I-ADaPT template. So we'll try to get more into that at our next working group meeting. I am going to stop in a moment, but I would just like to offer any of you the opportunity to either comment or to question that you may have before we close for this meeting, please. Please, yeah. Go ahead. Aliu?
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I will be very brief. It's about the template. I think I raised this question already. When we talk about the main issue, I would like that we have an internal discussion about that. In particular for case studies where we feel that it's very difficult to isolate, one issue that can be considered like a main. It's a complexity of issue, combination of issues. This is really one concern I have somewhere. And sometimes it's also with regard to someone's perspective, meaning someone's background. For example, as a social anthropologist, I may have an issue that might be different from one another. The other thing is on the concerning the main species also. It's very important to limitate to have a common understanding on what we mean by main species is the most important, commercially speaking, or at the level of food security. This would be very, or in terms of the quantity of this fish, landed annually in the country. These are just some concerns I would like to share with the team for future. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think those are good points, Aliu. I think just quickly, because we can't go into deep discussion at the moment, but I think in terms of main issue, I think if we just think about main issues and just put an S on the end of main issue, so if it's multiple issues, then please include those multiple issues in the case study. Just briefly on the main species, really that refers to what the main issue is, the main issues. And so if it's really about loss of livelihood, small scale fisheries, then obviously the main species would be those species that comprise the most of their catch. Okay. So it's kind of context specific, but we can talk about that more in the future. And especially when we start to see the template started to be filled out, then it's easier to respond to specific questions and clarify those questions. Does that help?
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Do we have any further questions or comments from anyone? I'm not seeing any hands up, and I'm not seeing any hands up. Okay, so we are over. It's 8 minutes past 10. So thank you all so much for taking these 2 hours, for planning for this, for your questions, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.